Welcome to the Chat Podcast. It's Entertainment Talks podcast for chat, mental health, and behind the scenes. I'm your host Matthew, and today I'm going to be talking about October and November for 2020 because I missed doing the Chat Podcast last month. Basically, just completely ran out of time. Then it got too late in the month, and I thought I'll just do a double episode, sort of. I'm not going to dive too much into October. The one thing I want to say, I want to start off with some positive news, which is a nice thing to do. So we tried the experiment this year, which was to cover all three of the Walking Dead shows. So that was The Walking Dead, the main show, Walking Dead World Beyond, and Fear the Walking Dead. So from October, that consisted of The Walking Dead's finale, which was delayed from April because of COVID. So that was just one episode. That was the season 10 episode 16 finale. All of The Walking Dead World Beyond's first season, because it was 10 episodes. We just finished that last week. And then the first half of Fear the Walking Dead for season 6, which was 7 episodes. I'm very happy to say that that particular, if you want to call it an experiment or whatever, was a raging success. Those are some of our most popular podcasts, which we'll see probably in a minute. There might be some different numbers a little bit because we only just did the Walking Dead World Beyond podcast. Don't know exactly where that's going to fit in terms of the whole month, whatever. But you will see probably in January as well, like the full complete results of that, because some of those, the finale episode is very recent and everything. For World Beyond, but I'm sure that you'll see from some of the season premieres that the show did all three of the shows did very, very well. The interesting point for me, just in terms of my own observations, the actual finale episode for the main show sort of just happened and went. From what I noticed, it was sort of like everyone immediately moved on to World Beyond and Fear. I guess it was possibly the case of just like we waited so long for that episode and then it just sort of came and went. It was a good episode and everything, at least from what I remember. But like there was a bit of a conversation about it that week, and then it was like, alright, let's move on to new seasons of Fear and World Beyond. But still, in terms of the actual podcast, the other two shows did very, very well as well, which was good. It's something for us to invest in the future, both myself and David. Of course, David does join me for the main show, and for World Beyond doesn't join me on Fear. I do that one separately or on my own, but all three did really, really well, and I'm very happy about that as well, because I love covering zombie shows for lots of different reasons, especially that universe and everything. What World Beyond offered was something a bit different, and I both enjoyed it. It's a really, really good combination of both things, because not only was the shows popular, all three of the shows popular, did really well. I know David did as well, enjoy covering them. I know it took him a little bit longer to get into World Beyond, and I was pretty much there from the start. But it's both a combination of the podcast did really, really well, and I really enjoyed covering all three of them. Now, I didn't enjoy Fear as much, or anywhere near as much as World Beyond or the main show, but I still had an interest, like a general interest in covering it and just sort of seeing kind of where it went and everything. So very, very happy about that. We will be back for all three of the shows whenever they return next year. We do have a date for Walking Dead's the main shows return, the bonus 6 episodes, 1st of March. So that'll be the 3rd of October, which will be the Wednesday when we do that podcast. But just wanted to start off with some really positive news, and maybe I should have ended with that actually, but I do have a couple of other positive things I want to end on, so I'll save those things for the end. But let's start off with October. I'm not going to dive in massively to it because of course it's a little bit old. Just going to read out a couple of the things from that. Just bear in mind with October that early on in October was when the shows started, so those three started, so I think that you'll see, let me just quickly flick onto November. There's at least 2 of them in November, Walking Dead podcasts, which makes a little bit more sense in October, just because they sort of started whatever. But yeah, number 1, we've got 911, TV's most underrated show. That podcast just continues to do very well. I shared it in a Facebook group a couple of times, and people just kind of jumped on it. So there's that. Homepage archives, which is always there. Birds of Prey review. That's sort of like my Spider-Man review from last year, where I remember when I did my Far From Home review in July, and like every month people just kept listening to it. It's just, I don't know, one of the, especially for this year, one of the bigger films, I suppose, one of the more popular films. Becoming Heisenberg podcast is in here. That is for 105 Grey Matter. I don't know when we started doing, when we finished that. I think we finished that in November. I'm not 100% sure. And then our Gaming Talk podcast for the Spider-Man recast episode, back compat, talking about PS5, that sort of thing. That episode was pretty popular. It was very controversial. Basically, the PS4 version of Spider-Man, for the actual game, that the face model, not the voice actor, but the face model for the character, had been recast for the PS5 remaster of the game. And I think for the Miles Morales game as well. I'm not 100% sure about that, but with the remastered version on PS5, and that created some conversation. Of course, that was in our news for that week, so that kind of makes sense. 20 TV shows to watch that I've either finished or whatever. That's been quite a good one that I've done this year, because even past March, when we went into our first lockdown, I'll talk about COVID and some other stuff in a minute. Even past that, because I'm in a couple of different Netflix groups, people are always asking for suggestions, so I just always put that podcast in there, basically. This is where some Walking Dead stuff has started to come up. So you got, right, for October, because they did really, really well, but those other podcasts just did a little bit better, which is great, which is really, really good as well. I'm very happy about that. You've got, so, yeah, the Gaming Talk. Hang on a second, what's happened here? No, that's for, what's going on here? I think it's picking out numbers for today instead of this month for some reason, but they were in here just now. Let me just, sometimes this app glitches a little bit where it changes today instead of month. Let me go back to October. Scroll down, click on more. It's oh, there we go, it's changed now. See, if I click on the names of the episodes, it might glitch out again. But yeah, the Gaming Talk episode, then the TV suggestions one, then you've got Walking Dead, Gaming Talk, Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, Gaming Talk, Last of Us 2 review, Analyzing Television, Must Play for Crash Bandicoot 4, Walking Dead. So yeah, I'm just sort of Walking Dead. So there's a whole number of them in there. The best performing one of October was 104 for World Beyond, which is good. And it's glitched out on me again, so I won't be able to check the others at the moment. So, but that's very, very good for October. Anyway, so the Breaking Bad, a couple of the Breaking Bad podcasts did really well, which is good to see. Let's just move on to November. So yeah, there's still some more. There's a bunch of Walking Dead podcasts in there that did pretty well. The numbers for the middle episodes are a little bit all over the place, because some of the episodes stuck out a little bit more than others. But like I've said in the past, the premiere episode and the season finale podcast are the ones that tend to be the higher episodes. So let's look at November for 2020. Homepage archives, 911, TV's most underrated show. Then you've got those did really well, actually. 4 reasons to be excited for Last of Us TV show, Walking Dead, 20 TV shows to watch, Walking Dead. So yeah, again, it continued again, which was really, really good. Just gonna click on 605 for Fear. That was, yeah, I remember that episode, why that was particularly popular. Then 105 for World Beyond. That was another big episode for certain reasons, which I can't really get into because of spoilers. So yeah, basically at the end of the day, Walking Dead podcast did really well. Gaming Talk has started to get into those numbers a bit, which is very good to see. We do put a lot of effort into that show. There's a number of different segments and things like that, so I'm very, very happy about that. But yeah, Walking Dead was a success. Breaking Bad looks to have been a success. Some of the other stuff that I did was really good. Good to see Crash in there. Good to see the Last of Us podcasts in there a couple of times. So overall, I personally am really really happy with how that worked out. That was how I kind of thought things would work out as well. Um, in regards to that. So yeah, I'm overall happy with what we did in both of those months, and numbers wise for the overall both months were pretty good as well. We've been quite steady throughout this year. The middle months of the year weren't as successful, sort of like July, June. What was on at that point? Um, yeah, you had like Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist and like the end of the Arrowverse shows. So, as much as I love Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, in like the middle months of the year, we didn't really have um like massive shows. We really only sort of got back to that in like September when The Boys came around. The Amazon show and that sort of started up again. But it was sort of it was kind of a COVID effect, wasn't it? You know, we hit sort of March, April, May, things were kind of ending a bit, you know, like Westworld, Walking Dead, Better Call Saul were sort of ending. Walking Dead's finale got delayed, and then sort of June, July hit, and there wasn't anything massive out. Now that we've got back into October, we've had, you know, in September, and I guess closer to November, we've had like Mandalorian, Walking Dead, the Breaking Bad podcasts, and what was the other show I just mentioned? The Boys as well. Boys, Breaking Bad, Breaking Bad, and some other shows as well. So yeah, and like I said, I am really happy about the gaming podcast as well. This is probably the most successful point it's been at, which is good. But see, the thing with the gaming podcast is it does depend on the news for that week. Like if you got some really big news, like you know the face model for Spider-Man is being recast on the PS5 version, that's pretty big news. If you got a week where like not a massive amount is happening, because you usually once a week you get like one really big thing that happens, that's your big talking point, and then you have other small bits of news, maybe like games of gold, that sort of thing. But every now and again, sometimes you do have those weeks where it's like, okay, lots of these small things happen, but nothing like massively jumps out or anything. Of course, not next week, the week after, we got the Game Awards, so hopefully that will do pretty well as well. So yeah, plus not all of the big news always is attractive to everyone because different people play different games. It's just a very different beast of a podcast to try and get out there, the gaming talk one. I mean, we have our impressions of games and stuff, but again, if people aren't playing those games, they might not be so interested. It's usually, I tend to find with the gaming ones that it is centered around like, okay, if you talked about like this week's big story, which we usually do, but that particular big story has got like everyone talking, then more people are very much likely to be attracted to your episode, which you've just seen there with the Spider-Man thing and all that. So yeah, yeah, that's pretty much it for October and November. Can't really talk about December yet because we're 5 days into it. So I'll talk about that in the new year. But yeah, just I guess this is because this is the last chat podcast for the actual year. Been a very different year for us here on Entertainment Talk, and for everyone in the entire world, really. You know, COVID has sort of changed things massively. I want to talk about some more public COVID stuff in the second half and how this country hasn't handled it, really. And then I want to talk about one kind of not positive COVID thing, but one thing that's happened after this second lockdown that's a little bit positive. But yeah, I want to again thank you everybody very 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 much for tuning into the podcast. You don't have to. There is hundreds if not thousands of people out there that make content. It's incredibly competitive, and the thing I always want people to know as well is some people have looked at this and said like, oh Matt, you just like you play games, you watch stuff and you talk about it. No no, it doesn't work like that. Just trust me, it doesn't work like that. I'm talking to a lot of different companies at the moment about sponsorship deals. That's far more complicated than even I anticipated. It's going pretty well actually, a lot better than I thought. I just haven't got anything quite sort of sealed and done yet. Hopefully I will do so in the next couple of weeks, or maybe in the new year. I don't know. But like I said, you know, if it could take one podcast for you to get bored of us. You might leave, never come back, listen to somebody else. So if you're stuck around, even if it's for a week or a couple of years or a couple of months, I always very, very much appreciate each and every one of you. There's been some good retweets, some likes and things like that on Facebook, some good numbers for traffic, some good feedback for the podcasts. Numbers have been very good. I've been very happy with, like I said, how things have worked out. And this is the best thing I've done with my life, really. To go to more of sort of a personal note. And as I said, Crash Bandicoot 4 and having Last of Us 2 this year was a massive help to me. Not just business-wise, because those podcasts did really, really well, but just things that made me happier. So I'm grateful for those things this year, and other things as well. But those are two things that really, really stuck out. Because both of those games could have been delayed out of this year, because COVID just made everything so unpredictable. And Crash luckily didn't get delayed at all, but Last of Us 2 did a couple of times. Quiet Place 2, a film I was really looking forward to this year, has got completely delayed out of this year. Hopefully that comes out next year as well. Let's hope that we can get to some, I don't really like this phrase, but some sense of actual normality would be good as well. But again, thank you all very, very, very much for listening. It doesn't get ignored. If I don't respond to that you've liked a tweet, or you've retweeted something, or you've commented, I've very likely seen it, and who knows, you may very well have made my day. It really is. So these things can simply just sort of happen like that, and it doesn't get ignored. I do notice all of it, and it's very much appreciated. Looking forward to next year and the things that we've got. Hopefully there can be, a few more films next year. That will be really, really good as well. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to say for sort of entertainment talk for this year. I want to talk a bit about some COVID stuff, so I'll see you in a minute for that. Hi there, and thanks very much for listening. Today I'm here to tell you about our two different affiliate links, the first of which is our Amazon affiliate link. That's where you can shop on Amazon. We can get a small cut of what you spend, but it won't cost you anything extra. So whether you're getting a gift for somebody else or treating yourself, or maybe both depending on the occasion, we can get a small cut of what you spend, but it won't cost you extra. You can find the link to our Amazon affiliate link in your show notes. The second affiliate link for today is our Kualu affiliate link. If you want to get started with a website and a domain name of your choice, you can simply sign up with Kualu using the link in the show notes. They also have a live chat support system that's in the bottom right hand corner as well. So if you need help with getting set up, Kualu will be able to help you with that as well. The links for both of these can be found in your show notes for Kualu and the Amazon affiliate link. If you would like to get the ad-free versions of Entertainment Talks podcast and support us along the way, you can simply sign up over on our Patreon page. You can sign up either as a creator or as a patron. There's no difference there for the time being, and you can get your ad-free podcasts over there. It's a great way to support us on Entertainment Talk and to get rid of the ads and get your ad-free podcasts. You can also support Entertainment Talk on Patreon at the $3 level tier. This gets you a chance to request a review from us of your favourite TV show or film, but it's one per month, so one TV show or film review per month. It's up to you which one you want to choose. We will watch a few episodes of the TV show that you choose, or of course if it's a film, we'll just watch that film and we will review that for you on that month. And then when it gets to the next month, you can request a new TV show or a film review of your choice. That's $3 level tier. That does also of course include your ad-free podcasts for the month as well. Thank you very much for listening and enjoy the rest of the show. Alright, I'm not going to do any housekeeping here necessarily because I've pretty much mentioned all the content that we're doing already anyway. I did do the United cast today for the 3-1 win against West Ham, but in terms of doing housekeeping, I've sort of already just done it. You know what we've covered as of lately. Some TV talk stuff, Walking Dead, gaming talk, United cast, all those sorts of things that we do. So check all that out if you want to. So yeah, we're out of our second lockdown, which we shouldn't have had the second lockdown because we shouldn't have got to the point that that was even a thing. It's just really, really weird with people around here, with people in the country that, COVID didn't happen yesterday. It's not like a brand new, it is a new thing, but it didn't happen like last week or yesterday. It's just so bizarre to me where just I see on the news not all the time, but often enough. I try to not consume too much of it, but it is useful for me to know what's going on. Like restrictions this, restrictions that, tier this, tier rating system. I don't think a lot of it really means a lot to many people. Um, and just in terms of the actual restrictions themselves, I said this to, some of my family and stuff. I was having some conversations with them about COVID and that sort of thing. Even when we were in lockdown, I reckon you could have gone up London, into central London, done whatever you want and nothing would have happened to you in terms of you getting told off for these restrictions. Um, it's just we're in December now. We're in the 5th of December. I've seen one policeman this year. So where is the restrictions are set, but there's no consequences for them at all, and it's just it's very, very disappointing. But we shouldn't have gotten to a point where we had to have a second lockdown. People they just don't really listen, do they? It just doesn't go in their heads. And I know this doesn't apply to everybody. People like me, you, David, Bex, Robert, I'm sure as well. I know Robert's in a different situation. He lives in America. And the three of us, me, David, and Bex, all live in the UK. So it's the same for us, but probably a bit different for him. They've probably got different rules and that sort of stuff over there. Plus, they've got, they had an election to deal with, so there's that as well. But yeah, all of us use masks and everything. We know the rules: 2 meters, don't touch anything that anyone else has touched, and that kind of thing. Keep your distance, wear masks, that kind of thing. I was saying this to some people the other day. We're lucky that COVID isn't like the rule. I know COVID's been bad. People have died. I'm not trying to dismiss that, but we are lucky that the rules haven't been more harsh. It's 2 meters. Don't touch too much. Or if you do touch things, sanitize your hands and wear a mask. We're not dealing with a nuclear disaster, are we? We're not dealing with you look at what we're dealing with COVID, and then go and watch Chernobyl. I know Chernobyl's a different time, they had different technology and that sort of thing, but still, you look at the radiation devastation from all that and everything else. And if you look at the plague and the Spanish flu and whatever else that we've had to deal with in the past, I could be wrong about this. It's just my opinion. COVID feels like a much, much easier thing to deal with than all those. I know that there's still difficulties around COVID, certain things that can't happen, certain things that haven't been able to happen, but it's just when I see it every day. People that just, there's a lot of people that live, and this might just be my area kind of thing that I live. There's certain people that if I didn't get out of the way of, not only would they not be 2 meters away from me, they'd walk straight into me. I would have gotten knocked over so many times. There's people that park their cars, they swing their car door open, they don't look who's next to it. There's just no again, I could just be speaking about my area. It could be better in other areas of the country. I don't know, because I only live in this area, of course, and I've only been in this area because lockdown, you're not supposed to really travel or whatever. But around here, people are just really, really bad with it. There's people on bikes that just don't look where they're going and stuff. I can see one day, I'll be avoiding a car door. Someone will swing their car door open, and just swing the door open and not even look to see someone's there. And someone on a bike or someone running is just gonna walk straight into that door. I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet. I was walking up the road the other day, and there was this woman that came out of a flat, and I'm not mentioning this because she's a woman. I'm just saying that she was a woman. Was on her phone. I think she was smoking or something. Just staring at her phone, staring at the ground, walking really, really fast, walking right towards me. And I'm thinking, this woman isn't going to get out of my way. She's not going to look up. She doesn't even probably know I'm in front of her. She's going to walk straight into me. And I walked slightly to the side, and she gave me this look of what's up? It's like you would have just crashed straight into me if I didn't move out of the way. It just I don't think I'll ever get over things like what I've seen in the last couple of months of just this total utter lack of awareness. And there's people that have looked at me before I've had a mask on. I've been just either walking through a street or in a shop. Someone will look at me that doesn't have a mask on and be like, ugh. What you got that on for, sort of thing. And it's like, is it just not going in your head? it's just I don't think I'll ever get over that. I don't think I'll ever forget the just the not the event of COVID or whatever. Just the total utter lack of awareness. It's really really surprising, and I can't like demonstrate it. This is an audio podcast anyway, but I can't like demonstrate it or prove it or whatever. And it'll happen. I mean, I'm not going in anywhere tomorrow, luckily. But it'll happen on Monday. I've got to go to the shops and stuff on Monday. I typically do that on Mondays usually, and I'm gonna go out and in the morning and stuff. It'll happen again on Monday. The amount of times I've just felt like, okay, if I don't cross the road, because the roads are very thin. The path, sorry, not the road, and the roads as well. They're very very thin in the UK. Especially where I live as well, and there's not a lot of room to walk past somebody, especially when you're supposed to be 2 meters away from them, and I usually end up walking on the grass or walking into the road. Obviously I look before I walk into the road, I don't want to get run over. But yeah, there's a lot of times where like multiple people have been walking around, and it's like, okay, I've just got to move totally out of the way of these people, not just because of the 2 meter thing, but because these people will walk straight into me. They will. And it's just I don't know if I'll ever get over I don't know how to describe it. How to describe that? It blows my mind. It really really does. And I know we've seen a lot of weird, crazy, silly, out there things in 2020. It's certainly been a year, so it's not the craziest thing that's ever happened, but and it's not just if it's from like one person that lives around this area. It's almost like everybody around here. It's really, really weird. So I'm almost more worried that like I'll get into just an accident as opposed to catching COVID from somebody, because like someone will have like blacked out windows. They'll swing their car door open and hit me, or someone that I won't know is like behind me will just walk into me, or I don't know. Which if they've got COVID and they bump into me anyway, then surely I would get it anyway. But yeah, I'm almost more worried about just actually bumping into somebody than something else. It's very very strange, and I had to get these thoughts out there, and I have the platform to do so, and the chat podcast to do so as well. So it's weird, but let me know what things are like in your area. You don't have to tell me what area you live in, but just tell me if things are like that, or if they're somehow worse, or if they're hopefully they're a lot better. Hopefully that they are, because I don't want anybody to have to deal with things like that. But it's like you've got this thin path to walk on, and everyone just walks in the middle of it. It's like, do you not know that people have to walk past you? It's so strange. Anyway, but yeah, and I could sit here for another half an hour probably ranting about how bad this government's been, how they've basically failed with every single thing they've tried to do with COVID. This year, like test and trace didn't work. They failed on the school meals things, which is where Rashford stepped in, and I'm sure other people did as well, but Rashford was the one that was sort of most noted, but they completely failed with that. There was actually, this is something I wanted to talk about. I meant to talk about this, I think, last month, but didn't get round to it. I don't know the name of the MP, but there was something that Rashford submitted to do with this whole food poverty and it was to do with free school meals, wasn't it? To begin with. There was something submitted to an MP to do with supporting children like for free school meals or something along that lines. Of course, I don't know what was on the document because I didn't read it, but I heard that this MP basically rejected the idea. Now, I can't call this person's name out because I've actually forgotten it, because this was a little time ago. You might as well have had that person sit in a room with a child that's starving, that child ask that person for food, and them say no. You might as well have done that, because that's basically what you've done, but just from a distance. Because the thing's been submitted. Now, I don't know if this thing like cost too much money, or I don't know. But yeah, this thing got submitted. I think it was from Rashford. I can't remember if it completely was, but it was from somebody. It got submitted to this MP, something about free school meals, and they rejected it. So you're basically turning around to these children, and saying like, no, you can't have this. You can't have food. I'm rejecting that idea. that is just inhumane and awful in so on so many levels. Um, and sure, there might be a particular excuse, but I don't think that you could accept many excuses for that. There might have been a reason it was rejected. Maybe it, I don't know. Maybe it cost too much money. Maybe it wasn't planned well, or something like that. But there's very, very, very few excuses that you'd accept for something like that. That's just inhumane and awful on so many levels that I don't have time to get into because I'll just be here for too long. But yeah, you might as well have that person sit in a room, have a child come in the room, say, "Can I have some food?" and they say no. The other really bizarre, actual bizarre thing, now this is to do with the rules or something. I think it's each MP or a set of MPs or something like that get a £25 a day food voucher. I'm assuming that's on top of the wage that they get, which is just yeah, just wrong on too many levels. That money could just, like, do you need that on top of the wage that you get? Like, you're an MP, you're probably quite well paid, and they haven't really stopped working, MPs either. It's not like they were furloughed or let go or whatever the case may be. Why do you need it? £25 a day is an awful lot of money as well. Like, are you going to the carvery every day or something? Like, yeah, it's just so wrong. That's just a couple of, if you live like outside the UK and you're not sure kind of what's going on. Those are just a few things to set the table, on how bad we've been. Those are just a few of the things I wanted to talk about, in terms of that. But it's been bad. It's been very, very bad. So yeah. But yeah, the positive thing that I wanted to end on. I don't know why this took so long, because again, there's lots of different reasons why this should have been allowed a lot earlier. Fans are being let back into football stadiums, which I think is a very good, very positive thing. Now, is it a life or death situation? Is it needed or required? No, but it is a good way to get back to some sense of normality. You know, football fans being back in the stadiums is a sense of getting back to some sense of normality in some way, and I think that's very, very good. So that's happening as well, which is good. I've always made the argument that, like, okay, you've got, just to use Old Trafford as an example, Man United Stadium, 76,000 seats, and you're telling me that since March, I know that football itself was suspended, so there's a little bit of a time excuse from there, but football came back in, I think, July or so, and then we played from July pretty much right through until now. You're telling me that you had stadiums of, like, even if it's 30, 40, 50,000 or even 8,000, that you couldn't have fit a few people in this entire time, and it took until now to get into there. The logistic thing that I don't understand about that, right? You've got an open air football stadium, right? You're not in a confined room where it's like a cinema or whatever. This is an open air football stadium with loads and loads and loads of room. Go and look up a picture of Old Trafford or something and tell me that there's not room in that stadium. So you're not allowed to have that for several months. Open air stadium where there's thousands, if not tens of thousands of seats, loads and loads and loads of room. You weren't allowed to have anybody in the stands. You were allowed to have, like, press, camera people, those sorts of people, obviously. You know, the minimum required sort of people in there. People to take photos of the match, and then obviously the players, manager, coach, stewards, all those sorts of things. But restaurants and bars, I understand that they have to be open. They're kind of essential in a way, or kind of important in a way. But those are areas where there's tables that are really close together. You haven't got, like, you've got windows, but you haven't got, like, a massive open air sort of space. Tables are really near each other. People are walking past each other. I know, because I've been to a restaurant in this COVID era after we came out the first lockdown. I went to, it was for my mum and dad's anniversary, actually. We went to a meal with some people. We were actively walking past people, past their tables. We still went up and got our food and stuff. It was for a carvery. We went up and got our food. We walked past loads of people. Nobody had a mask on. The staff were not distanced from us. The people that came up and, like, spoke to us and that. There was hand sanitizers, and when you actually queued up for your food, there was, you know, spots on the floor. Not that people really followed that. Again, restrictions with no consequences. like that was sort of set on everything. So there was a few things there, but there was still loads of people walking past each other in a really close environment. So my argument is, how was that okay? But you couldn't have anybody in the seats in a stadium with tens of thousands of seats. That doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, I don't make the rules. So, but yeah, football fans are now back in the ground, and that's or at least some grounds or some like percentage of them or whatever are allowed back in. It's a good step forward, which is what I'm trying to say. And it took a long time, but it finally happened. It's just that we've been really, really slow to do things in this country. Very, very slow to do a lot of things. So the other big good news, of course, is there is a lot of more talk about vaccines being on the way. They're being given to the elderly first. Fair enough, they are the most vulnerable, and people with like health conditions and stuff. Of course, NHS workers as well, people that are dealing with COVID on a daily basis. That's good. That's another good step forward. We didn't have any control of that, of course, because you have to make the vaccine first before you can actually do anything about it. It doesn't mean everybody's going to be cured tomorrow or next week or next month. It's going to be a slow process, but it's a process that has stepped forward a bit, and the UK has managed to get their hands on some of them, which is good. So that's good as well. But I pretty much wanted to wrap up on that. Thank you everybody very much for listening. Thanks for all your support this year and everything. I'll be back next month to talk about how the year ended in terms of numbers, and give a little preview maybe of what to expect for next year. I haven't quite figured that out and planned it yet. But yeah, in terms of the actual end of the year content, like for December and stuff, there's the best and worst of 2020 podcast still to come up. For us to do that. I think it's going to be me, Gray, and David going to be doing that. That's going to be a lot of fun. Other content that I've got planned that I don't want to talk about at the moment, I've got something very special planned for January, which I think is going to be really, really good. I'm really looking forward to that. And then seeing as a lot of things have been filming last couple of months, there should be a lot of returning stuff in the early part of the year. We know that Walking Dead is back early in the year. We know that Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist is back in the new year, hopefully soon on E4. The Arrowverse shows are coming back, and like I said, hopefully cinemas can open a bit more, and we can get some films out, because I really, really want to see A Quiet Place 2. I really want to see that a lot. So again, thanks for listening, thanks for supporting, and we will keep on going. In the meantime, you can find everything that we do on entertainmenttalk.org. If you like what you've heard today and you want to support more and you want to hear more from us, of course, entertainmenttalk.org is where you can find the content. If you want to support it, though, there's lots of different options for you. Patreon, you can have a look at the $1 and $3 level tiers for for ad-free podcast and review options. Word of mouth, you can tell people that you know about the website and the iTunes feeds and the content. Social media, you can do the same thing, but through Facebook and Twitter. And different Facebook groups and different social media platforms, that sort of thing, so get involved with all that. Speaking of awards and best and worst and whatever of the year, the Geektown Awards are open. You can go and vote on your favourite shows, games and films of the year, and your most anticipated games, shows and films for next year. If you go to geektown.co.uk/awards, you can go and vote on your favourite shows and whatever, on your favourite stuff. Just tick the boxes for each category, and then submit your information at the bottom and press submit. You will be entered into a prize draw as well. There's also a reward for the runner-up. I don't know when all that ends, but just make sure you go and get your voting done, and go and get yourself entered into the prize draw and all that. So that will be really, really good. Of course, you can go to geektown.co.uk in general for your up-to-date, reliable TV and film news. Geektown Radio episodes on Tuesdays. If you listen to last week's episode, that will tell you about this year's nominees for all the different categories that myself, David, and Gray all chose. So go and have a listen to all that. But geektown.co.uk and Geektown Radio on iTunes podcast services. Over on Twitch, Bex is streaming daily over on there. If you search for Trista Bytes, Trista Bytes, go and follow her over there. I'm streaming on Twitch as well, eTalk UK for some PES stuff and some other games as well in the future. So check all that out. And until then, thanks everybody very much for listening, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.